Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Ladies, understand something. The top end of a woman's weight is 145 pounds. Okay. My mother's 5'9", and she was 145 pounds until she was 50. That's the top end of your weight, because there should be about a 40-pound difference between you and men.
Basically, if the guy is rich, what ends up happening is the lawyer contacts the person and be like, hey, you know, your name gonna be all in the paper, so you might as well just settle out of court.
I can recognize talent. Even if I don't agree with the politics, a lot of the politics that was underlying in the show and some of the sentiments he was trying to share, I recognize artistry when an artist is present.
Yes, this is the definition of absolutely cooked. We'll never go back and take a look at her bad decision and take accountability for any of that.
Because there is powerful people in the industry, somehow there is a different law that applies to them. And I agree with that assessment.
What's going on, peoples? Peace and blessings. Happy Thursday. I appreciate you for being here. This is a very serious subject. To be fair, everything that we speak on is pretty serious. I haven't done anything up here that I didn't find serious unless it was more or less lighthearted. Not trying to be gloomy every single time we get up here. So I try to mix it. Some things are a little more fun, but for the most part, I absolutely take the topics that I bring serious. Alcoholism is extremely serious. And, you know, this isn't about being popular or liked. My concern is for the mental health of people, for your physical health. Before I even dive further into that, I want to give a shout out to Sydney, Anna, Candace, my poets, my writers, all of you. Much love to you. Your contributions to these discussions are extremely important. And while this era of communication has made its voice very clear that it's going to be an uphill battle, to have things like this take precedent over the frivolous interactions between us, we still have to do it. And quite frankly, if it isn't discussed, then I don't feel comfortable. I just don't feel comfortable. So tonight I wanted to switch it up and get into it. I have a long history of alcohol situations and issues in my house. So this isn't just projection or nothing like that. I got Jason in the building. I'm gonna bring him up. And if y'all have anything that you would like to input, feel free to do so. You know, it's always open to the public. Jason, what's going on?
How are you?
I'm good. Let me fix this. All right, there we go. Yeah, I'm good. I wanted to switch up today. I didn't want to do what I did yesterday. Yesterday was more or less a little fun time just to kind of decompress from the midweek alcoholism. A serious one, a very serious one. I've seen it destroy a lot of lives, personally and just externally. What are your initial feelings towards it? Is it something that impacts you directly? Do you feel like it is something that should be concerning to all of us? That's just where I want to start at, because I know it's a lot. I mean, when you hear the word alone, it's just like, all right, where do you want to begin? You know what I'm saying? So
I have a couple of places that I can start with this. So I'll just pick one. My wife, her ex-husband, is an alcoholic. And her kids have to deal with that whenever they experience him, because he's drunk almost every day. And he's a high functioning alcoholic. But that just means that he's learned to live his life around the some people call it a disease. I don't see it as a disease. It's a dysfunction. And I look at the way that their lives are impacted. I look at the way that lives have been impacted before, either clients that I've seen or ways that I've seen other people act because of alcoholism. I grew up around it. It's something that not from my family, my immediate family. I've never had any personal problems with alcohol. I actually prefer not to drink most times at all. And my immediate family, they have their own reasons. Most of them religious, why they don't drink. And so I haven't really experienced it up close and personal, except for with my ex-wife's ex-husband, my wife's ex-husband. And I see the damage that it does. It's one of the reasons why she left him, was because of that. His lost, my gain. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you look at it, it's like, man, this is heavy. I've dealt with a few clients who have dealt with alcoholism, and it really does impact their lives greatly. And when I say that people fall victim to alcoholism, I mean that in every sense of the word, because like any other addiction, it's a means of escape. And because it's so easy to use, so readily available, and so abundant, it makes it so much harder to combat. Because especially in the Western culture, it's prevalent in all parts of society. You eat meals, you have a drink. You meet socially, you have some drinks. You do anything. You could basically incorporate alcohol into any kind of meeting, gathering, get together, or reason to be alive, I guess. And there are people who utilize it as a means of dulling the pain, escaping from their reality. I actually had a client where she was an alcoholic and she wanted to help other women who were in their silver years, who also struggled with alcohol, who were devout Christians. And I helped to put a program together to help combat that. And she said that it was very successful. She's had a lot of good results from it. Her clients love the program. They get some real value. But I absolutely understand the issue and the need to talk about it. I yield the mic.
I've been in vehicles with guys who call themselves being functional drinkers. I've been around family who flat out don't know how to handle a single drop of it. And when they consume it, you see immediately everything shifts within them. When I used to drink, there was a number of reasons. One was to drown out the reality that was around me. I didn't want to think about it. I wanted to delay dealing with it as much as possible. Also, I looked at it as, let's say you want to gain weight or lose weight, but you don't want to do the proper preparation. You don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to eat healthier. So you trim the fat. You take pills, shots. I looked at it like an enhancement for my personality. So it would make you funnier, or it would make it easier for you to be social. It would make it easier for you to deal with more intimate settings between you and the other person that you were about to get involved with. So I say all that to say I had multiple reasons for utilizing it until ultimately what I learned from it was it does steal time from you. It steals moments from you. It takes you away from your friends and family. It destroys relationships. It shortens your lifespan. And not just like shaving off years of your life, but the bodily harm that it does. Now, a lot of people have died in car accidents. Why are you driving? Some people, even like close to me, they still use, and you can't really say but so much to a person who is stuck in their ways. But it's like, when is enough going to be enough? Because what I found out was it doesn't really matter how many pints you chug. The internal issues that you have will still be there after you sober up. So this is a dangerous subject. It's very sensitive. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but it's really something to dig deeper in. And I'm gonna stop right there.
So now that we've talked about the seriousness of it, where did you want this conversation to go?
So I want to talk about the mindset that puts a person in the place to become reliant on substances, and what could trigger it to happen, and what is really going to take to acknowledge it and want to actually do something about it.
It's funny that we're
Because
having this conversation. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say it, just because, as much as we hear about celebrity gossip and pill popping and this, that, and third, we never really try to get inside of the mind of the addict or the person who is dealing with this. Like, I remember this time last year, I was about to get into an altercation with one of my siblings over him being inebriated, disrespecting his mother, and he was extremely drunk, and like that right there, no. So yeah, that's pretty much the basis of this whole discussion.
Like I was saying, or when I accidentally interrupted you, it's funny that we're covering this because, like I said, I developed a program and have since gone deeper into how I can use this to help other people, including those who struggle with addiction. And through my research, and what I've found is that addiction, it doesn't matter what it is, an addiction personality is an addiction personality. Pick your poison. It could be alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex, porn, what have you. An addiction is an escape. It is an escape. It is an attempted escape of reality in order to soothe the feelings that come from fear, guilt, and shame. And oftentimes, those feelings are fueled by an underlying belief that we are hopeless, we are helpless, and we are worthless. And the reason why we have those thoughts is because there's a situation that we hold on to that we either feel grief from, that we haven't gotten over, that we regret, or that we resent. And so when you put all these things together, I call it the SEA acronym, SEA. And it stands for saboteurs, echoes, and anchors. So your saboteurs are the big three: the fear, guilt, and shame. These are the ones that paralyze every person. They cause people to stop in their tracks from having any kind of success or happiness or pleasure at all. And it makes people do stupid things like go to addiction because, one, they aren't willing to talk about it. They don't want to be a burden on anyone, or they don't want to feel like they are they're trying to make it all about them or whatever it might be. Again, the underlying belief is I am helpless, I am hopeless, and I am worthless. And so this brings about a lot of what I call shade behaviors: secretive, hollow, antagonistic, divisive, and evasive. And when a person is suffering like this emotionally, they have no one that they can turn to, no one that they trust to tell this without feeling they're going to be judged, ridiculed, or exiled. Then all that they can do is self-soothe. And we learned how to self-soothe as infants. That was one of the first things that we learned to do. Instead of sucking on our tongue or our thumb, we begin sucking down alcohol. Because those are the previously mentioned, the sucking motion is more of a child's coping mechanism, whereas alcohol is seen as a grown-up coping mechanism. It's much more deadly. I think I've read somewhere. I'm not sure how true this is, but I'm pretty sure that I read somewhere that even one drop of alcohol begins the poisoning process of the body. And for someone to believe themselves to be so be either beyond help or so that they have this belief in themselves that they are that far gone that they cannot reach out to connect with anyone because they're afraid that their beliefs about themselves are going to be confirmed by another. And that's the last thing that they want. And yet they don't even seek out to try because they're so hard on themselves. They expect everyone else is going to be as hard on them, which is never true. We are always our worst critic. And we never give people the ability to provide the grace that we are looking for because of that fear, or because of that guilt, or because of the shame that we're hanging on to. It makes it impossible for us to really, for some people, I mean, to really move past those points. It takes a lot of help, or it takes a lot of effort. I know both sides of the healing process, not of the alcoholism process. But what it requires to heal from that is a lot. It takes a lot of courage to even admit there's a problem, to even admit that there is something that we have to work on. And then to go from admitting to actually doing something about it. I mean, come on. It's bad enough that we had to admit it, but to actually work on it, that means that there's something about it. We are admitting to ourselves that there's something about us that we believe is broken. And we don't want other people to see it because we don't want to be judged by others. But those who have the courage to work on these things, especially the saboteurs, the echoes, and then the anchors, which are the regret, the resentment, and the grief. When you have the courage to deal with those, you begin to give yourself the grace that you've been looking for in others. And that you realize that is the thing that you've been withholding, is your own grace. It has nothing to do with anyone else. It's the grace that you give yourself. And once you learn to give yourself that, the real healing begins. And that's when we begin to overcome these escape addictions. I'm going to give the mic.
I want to add something to this from a spiritual aspect. I really truly believe between people interceding and praying over me, I have been placed in situations where I had to be alone with myself and my thoughts. And I have a visual of this version of me that is unclean, and I have a version of me that is clean. And when I put them side by side and I turn on the board and the lights are on, and all of my flaws, all of my weaknesses, all of my traumas, my experiences, failures, successes are right there mirroring each other. I learn. And I'm not, when I say me, I'm saying like in general, because I know a lot of folks can relate to this. When you don't have anyone telling you what to do or what to say or what to think, and you're forced to look at yourself, yeah, you really do see it. You see where it started. You see how it was introduced to you. And you saw that you had a choice. You saw when you developed this habit, what put you in the position to be interested in it, how you learned survival mode, how you learned to avoid and evade, how you learned to love, like, accept, deny, hold yourself accountable. You factor in all of that, but you're already deep in. You've already did a substantial amount of damage to yourself through the decisions that were made throughout this journey. And to add on, in addition to what you said, there is a spiritual aspect to this that is often swept under the rug and doesn't really give anyone the impression that is simply one thing or the other, when it's actually a combination. You know, you can't have photosynthesis without air and light. You know, so if you are someone who is addicted, or you're having a hard time facing up to the reality that, look, this is my life, this isn't his or hers, I pick up the bottle. Why do I pick up the bottle? Is it really fun? Am I really having the time of my life? Am I really enjoying what it makes me do when I'm under the influence? Does it really make me feel like I'm on top of the world when I got all of this in my body and it's burning me from the inside out? I'm puking, I'm throwing up, I'm having multiple headaches the next day. People are talking to me about how I was a piece of shit, how I talked to them horribly, how I damaged property, how I burnt bridges. You don't have to answer to me or Jason. I don't have to answer to Jason or anyone here. The reality of it is, I still have to know that I did this. I caused that. I was disrespectful to this person. I stole. I drove when I shouldn't have. And this isn't related, but it is kind of related, because I could have killed 3 people, and I never spoke about this on anything. I could have been responsible for the deaths of 3 people, including myself, because I decided that I was going to smoke and drive. This wasn't my vehicle. This was my grandmother's vehicle. We went to go to the GameStop, and one person suggested I spark up on the way home. And on the way home, we rotated, and I tried on the way back to get in front of somebody, knowing that the car that I was driving was not built to go at those type of speeds and cut in front of a more advanced vehicle. I tried to cut in front of them. I couldn't make it. I almost ran into the divider for the bridge. In order for me to avoid it, I had to hurry up and spin the vehicle. We did a 360. Time slowed down. The guys that were in the back of the seat went to the front of the seat. But by the grace of God, nobody was killed. Nobody was injured. So I say that to say, you can say you got it all figured out, you got it under control, you can get behind the wheel, drink, smoke, whatever. You don't even have to be behind the wheel. You can be in a domestic situation. You can be around someone who never drinks a day in their life, and your reaction time, it suffers. How you respond suffers. There's a lot of things that come with this that is just not as conducive to healthy living, you know. So I'll stop there, but I do agree with a lot you said.
The worst part is that many people will go through the motions of alcoholism. They will indulge in the act, knowing that they aren't okay, and yet try to pretend that they are. And I think that's when it gets the most dangerous. When you believe something about yourself that is untrue, that reality can't support, but you decide that you're going to continue on anyway. I think that this is one of the most dangerous parts of addiction. Is not the addiction itself, although the addiction is rather concerning, but also the belief that you can act you can act normally without changing anything about your routine, and nothing changes. That's concerning. And my belief is the sooner that people begin to get help, the sooner they can get themselves out of that hole of addiction, and they can begin living the life they were meant to, rather than stuck in the past that no longer exists. I yield the mic.
There's this fantasy and this illusion. You know, I said it earlier in the show that there's this level of enhancement that comes with it. You laugh harder, your libido is increased dramatically. Your charisma is doubled. Your I don't give a shit is increased by 1,000. You're more fearless. It's like taking a bottle of Tylenol, reading the bottle saying, well, it relieves you of headaches, fevers, and so on and so on. Take as prescribed by the physician, but if you take 30 or 40, you're probably not going to have a very good time. So what I find, and from my experience, the fun and the excitement and joy that you believe you get out of this level of nirvana that comes from it is a false sense of identity. It is a darkness, a spiritual influence that visually connects to you through your inebriation when you're not in your right state of mind, and your focus is divided, because there's absolutely no, I don't care who you are, there's no way in the world that a mind that is not operating at its full capacity can balance out being logical, being sound, and being disproportionately split between that and being under the influence of anything, which is why when you say under the influence, what do you really think that actually means? When someone is under the influence, you're not under the influence of yourself. Because if you were under the influence of yourself, you wouldn't have a need to pick up a bottle. If you were under the influence of yourself, you would be operating at a place where who you are would mean more to you than the opinions of people, than obstructing any piece of you for a substance that was never designated for you at all. And demons gain access to your subconscious and through your spiritual vessel through the substance, because in order for these images and these fantasies and all of these different things to have any type of footing, you have to be weakened. You cannot be logically intact. Like if a murderer or a criminal came up to you right now, you're sober, and they say, "Hey, look, I got an idea. Let's go kill some people. Let's go shoot up something or rob somebody." You're gonna look at them like, "What the hell are you talking about? What?" But if you're under the influence, it might not sound the same to you. When you're under the influence, you give access to another part of this existence that you won't acknowledge exist. Coupled with everything that Jason has said from the very beginning of this show to now. So not only do you have your own mental, physical things going on with you from wherever the roots stems from, with your family upbringing, all that, and coping, like Jenny said, but you have the spiritual side, and and that's where we get screwed, because the spiritual side is, oh, you're talking about invisible things. There are no such thing as invisible people talking to me. There's no such thing as invisible people getting in drugs or getting in the minds of people. There's no such thing as that. So we're going to rule out the spiritual part, and then we're just going to blame it on everything else. But these things go hand in hand. That's just my personal opinion. And I'm not here to judge nobody or knock nobody, because my habits have almost gotten people killed, and my habits have hurt people in my home personally. So don't get it twisted. I've been there. I even had to go out one day. I give you one more story. I got a phone call, and it was from my uncle, but it wasn't my uncle. It was his friend calling. Now his friend calling, I'm asking him like, all right, so what's going on? Hey man, your uncle is he drunk, man. I can't get him in the house. He can barely stand up. I'm gonna need you to help me carry him. So he pulls up in front of the house. I go out there. He gets the legs. I get the torso. We have to carry him all the way in the house because he can't stand. He can't stand at all. and this is just one incident. There's been a number of them where I would look at him and wonder, is he going to make it home the next day? Because of how far gone he is. He's been to rehab, he's done the programs, but he never commits to the process. And it's unfortunate. And I know that it's not just him avoiding dealing with things, even though I know that's a part of it, but God's grace keeps him and continues to keep him. And I just wanted to bring that up just so we get an understanding that I'm human just like the next person, and like just this stuff happens in my home just like it happens in the next person. It's nothing to really feel embarrassed about. It's a learning curve, and it humbles you, and it makes you really think about some things that you're doing yourself. So let me see what Jenny said. If you want to respond to her or anything, then I yield the mic to you. Drugs and alcohol are bad, but if used with discretion, it doesn't have to be problematic. Interesting. You want to respond to that or anything?
Yeah. So there's a lot that I want to respond to. First of all, I'm going to say what a lot of people use as the spiritual warfare are very similar things to what people like me, psychologists and behaviorists, call emotional dysfunction. And you can call it what you will. The underlying thing is that this person has been robbed of their peace because they've given up their understanding of what they control. In my book, The Leading Man, a practical guide for men to lead with strength and vision, I talk about the 5 things that every person has under their control. And this goes for men as well as women. Only 5 things you can control. You can control your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your decisions, and your actions. And when you are under the influence of a substance, drugs, alcohol, food, sex, gambling, debt, whatever it might be, you are giving up your ability to control those things. You're giving up your faculty to control those things. And that's when we see people act out in very strange and very uncharacteristic ways. Ways that seem very off-putting or not them. That some people would say that they are possessed by a demon or spirit. And someone like me would say that they are experiencing an emotional dysregulation. And there's no wrong way to say it because you're basically saying the exact same thing. There's a problem that is existing. Now, as far as Jenny's comment about drugs and alcohol used with discretion, I absolutely agree with that. Everything in moderation. We are beginning to see that there are a lot of benefits to things like marijuana and mushrooms. A lot of healing benefits. But when they are abused, they can have the opposite effect, countermanding effects that are not what is desired, because it's basically the evidence of an overdose or of an abuse of that product. OxyContin was very good at helping people with pain, but it's an opioid. It's synthetic heroin. And so you have people who would abuse it left, right, and center because they were chasing that high. And so then they get phantom pain that is just produced by the mind that they feel they have to treat with the exact same thing. More dose, more dose, more dose. Take it orally. Take it That too, fentanyl as well. Fentanyl came a little bit later. Higher doses, swallow it, snort it, inject it, do whatever you can to get that feeling, because it's the only way to push the pain away. But what they were feeling was symptoms of withdrawal. And heroin, or anything that's derived from heroin, is one of those things that you never really get over. It sticks with you. Well, that's where desperation comes in. And everything has to be done with moderation. But even some things should never be touched, except for very, very, very special circumstances. And then even then, they need to be highly monitored. They need to be very well regulated and supervised, kind of, in their use. So I would say that while everything in moderation, make sure that you know what you are doing. Make sure that if you are taking a prescription drug, you're taking it as directed. If you are doing something that's more naturally inclined, or something that's more holistic, herbal, or whatever, make sure that you are under the guidance of a professional who can guide you through that process, so that you don't stray away and get too far, because it's easy to do. It's easy to experience the euphoria or the feeling of being unburdened by life's demands, and then want to chase that over and over again. So, yeah, it definitely is a process. It's the more I work with people who have had drug and alcohol issues, the more I really respect their desire and their need to get clean, as well as their story and what brought them to that point to begin with. I yield the mic.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I personally believe in sharing at this particular point in my life. Like, I'm already close to 50 anyway, so it's like my life has been lived. I'm not going to say when God decides, but at this stage, there should be no reason for not having transparency. You are pretty astute and accurate with your assessment, right? And I know this because based on what you've said, I can honestly tell you and everyone that is watching that portion of me abused the substances that I used. I didn't go as far as fentanyl and Oxycontin and all that, but it really doesn't matter. See, for me, marijuana and the brown and white, those were sufficient enough to provide me with what I needed at that moment. And it was because of what I admitted and acknowledged earlier, which is my way of shaming the devil. So you have nothing to come back and say. But when you have these things that are going on with you internally that you don't get proper help with, and you don't know how to figure out and piece together so that you can dismantle this dysfunction that is causing you a rift in your relationship with God and disrupting your course and your quality of life, it is very, very much a huge detriment. So I can say that I've cried, I've been hysterically ridiculous under the influence, I've stolen, I've been there, I've been through all the emotions. So I don't deny what you said on that part. On the other end, demons are real. That spiritual aspect is real. What Jenny said about you absolutely invite demonic forces in. I know this because I've seen it, I've experienced it, and it doesn't stop just because you get clean or you go to church for a day or two. But of course, with the spiritual aspect of it, you have to figure that out for yourself. Me speaking on it doesn't really mean much unless you're curious enough to inquire about these things that I'm talking about. You go to God or whomever you believe is the creator or has. I believe in God. I believe that when you indulge, I don't agree with the moderation thing. I do agree that if a doctor prescribes it based on like injuries and you don't have a history of getting locked into that substance, I can understand that part, right? Because you just broke your leg or you just had surgery or something like that. I don't think that you or anyone should be taking medication for a large number of things. I had a friend that had anxiety, and I used to tell her, you don't need that, honestly. To me, it's a spirit that is attacking you. But when you have opposing views on things like this, it's hard to really convince somebody of that. Like I said, it's an invisible world. Nobody can see it. So how can it be real? The only reason I can say it to you is because I experienced it myself. I see a combination. I see Jason and I see the spiritual aspect of it. And it comes together cohesively to do exactly what it's supposed to do. So if you aren't clean, you can't recognize what Jason is talking about. And if you're not clean, you can't understand what I'm speaking on. How are you going to be receptive to any of this? And it's a little complex, but it's not when you've gone through the different motions of it. When you've watched somebody look at you with disappointment, or you've been in a situation where you had to sit down because God wasn't happy with you because of something that you did. Or if you don't want to go that route, let's just keep it specifically on the physical aspect of it. You shouldn't be driving. You shouldn't be behind the wheel at all. But you did it anyway, and now you just killed innocent people. You just killed your friend. I remember like last year I did a story on this up here. I was talking about it. The cop pulled over the man and his girlfriend. He let them go. He said, you know what? I'm gonna let you slide this time because it's your birthday. They were driving over 80 miles an hour. He got another call within 30 minutes. That same driver killed him and his girlfriend, ran smack into a wall. So, I mean, I don't know. It's really nothing to play with. I understand how it feels to be enveloped in it, but I'll leave it there. I know we in the closing portion of this, so I try to tightly wrap that in. If you have any like follow up or any final thoughts, the floor is yours.
Addictions of any kind are they're scary, they're troublesome, they are a pain in the ass. They wreak havoc on your life and on the lives of others. And if you do have an addiction and it's something you want to get over, getting help, there's plenty of resources around. You just have to want to avail yourself of them. Regardless of where you are, understand that there are people who do hold you in high regard, even if you may not hold yourself in high regard. And if nothing else, use that as your reason for doing something else other than what you've done. Mel, this has been a great segment. Thank you for tapping into this one.
Yeah, so many people have lost their life over alcoholism, and sadly enough, more people are going to. It's not really going to stop today just because of this, but the whole point is we spoke on it, we expressed how we felt about it, and that's what matters. Somebody might need to see this, or be in a space to receive it, and maybe it's not you, it might be somebody else. So do me a solid, to the people that are watching, man, because I know we all know somebody who's been here before. Share this out, let them know, these conversations exist. They're not just on the large super mega church channels and things like that. There are people who actually speak on these things, and you get a whole entirely different perspective on it. So love this conversation, bro. I appreciate you for pulling up as usual. To everybody that watched, Jenny, to the viewers, thank you for tapping in. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow, so stay on the lookout. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Make sure y'all go check out his book. And yeah, y'all have a blessed one.